You are listening to the Earplug Podcast Network, a Fanboys Inc. production.
If you're passionate for what you love and you're serious about it, when you see our cameras at the show, then we want to talk about it. Fair weather fans need not apply. We seek nerds that are true.
Hey, we're here at Bing Kong. It's Lewis from the Angry Geek Show. Jeremy is actually losing body limbs this Halloween weekend. Yeah, he's playing with a chainsaw. Our guest, the one and only comic book legend, independent comic book legend, Richard Pini. Sir, Elfquest touched my life.
I hope not inappropriately.
Well, maybe Lita, because she was hot the way that she drew. I mean, we talked a little bit off camera. And my main thing was, why hasn't there been a movie yet? Why hasn't there been a cartoon series? With the age, I was thinking, with the age of Netflix, that could be something.
Yeah, that's a question that we have been asked literally almost since the series began in 1978. And if you do the math, next year is Elfquest's 40th anniversary, by the way. I think our first inquiry about a movie was 1981.
About time when I discovered Elfquest.
Yes, and we have had studios option Elfquest fairly regularly since then, and we've been to the altar many times. We just have never tied the knot. And Wendy and I have come to the conclusion that until somebody, whether it's from Hollywood or cable, Netflix, Amazon, there's a whole lot more new players in the field now. Somebody comes to us and explains what Elfquest is about to us in such a way that we say, you get it. You understand what Elfquest is about. Then you're going to see a series or a movie or something. Heretofore, when a big studio options Elfquest, they want it to be good versus evil. They want big, they want loud, they want explosions, they want not car crashes because they don't have cars. So wolf crashes, yes, there you go. They want it simplified and dumbed down to literally good guys versus bad guys. And if you know anything at all about Elfquest, you know that Elfquest is not good guys versus bad guys, because even the best good guys have some dark to them, and even the worst, what you would normally call a villain, has redeeming qualities.
So you could say that with Pygmalions.
But until somebody realizes that that's what you need within the story of Elfquest, we've said this, and it's a realization we've come to more or less recently. We'd rather have no movie than a bad movie.
Thank you. Because, I mean, there's a lot of properties that came on to the big screen or to the television that were just awful, and it wasn't what we came to grow and love, and I'm glad that you're standing out for that. I have a question, and it always bugged me from the first time I picked up the phrase, "May the wolves pick at your bones." Where did that come from? I have to know. Because I say that to my kids. So where did that come from?
That is just one of the millions of little bits that Wendy has come up with over the years that are memorable. And if she got it from somewhere else, because we both love mythology, we both love stories that come from other cultures and other times, if she got that from somewhere else, I don't know where. So I'm going to stand here and say, that's hers.
What about sending?
Well, again, telepathy is not a new concept.
But okay, no, it's not. But as you're reading Elfquest and Cutter and Skywise, they're like, okay, even with Lita, well, she couldn't. I don't want to wreck it for anybody who didn't read it. You should read it. It's Warp, Marvel, and it's out now by.
Elfquest is the only, as far as I know, independent comic that has been published by all three of the big three houses, Marvel first, then DC, and now Dark Horse.
sending. You make it sound intimate. It's totally different than telepathy.
Well, it is intimate. There is an element of intimacy to it. It is essentially telepathy. And actually all of the elves can do it. Some have forgotten how to do it. You can communicate mind to mind, but on a certain superficial level. If you want to get more into the deep thoughts and emotions of a character, that character has to let you in. And there are levels to that access. And that was, again, a concept that, as far as I know, is original to Wendy. And she just crafted it so that certain interactions among characters could be on one level, and then certain others could be surprisingly intimate or unexpectedly intimate. And that in itself would impel certain consequences.
Anything that when you were writing the story, was there one certain part that you came to as it was being illustrated or as it was written and you were like, ugh, this breaks my heart, but it needs to be done? What was there one moment? We talked again off camera what the one moment that broke my heart. Is there anyone that you said, ugh?
Yeah. It's probably more than one, but one is coming to mind right now, and that is in the original quest when the elves are essentially kidnapped up to the frozen north, and they're dropped off in the snow, and the mountain trolls are coming after them. There's a character whose name was One Eye, and in the course of the ensuing battle, he gets clobbered pretty bad, and he doesn't die, but he is injured so badly that he essentially goes into a kind of a coma. Now, at that time, in our partnership of storytelling, I was a kind of happily ever after sort, and I wanted One Eye somehow to live, to come out of it, because I didn't want any of these characters to die, because that's just the way I was. Wendy, who was much more realistic about storytelling than I was at that time, said, you know, it would be really unrealistic if everybody gets out of this alive. So we came upon a compromise. And that's when storytelling gets really great, when you find a compromise that blossoms into other stories later on. Okay, let's put One Eye into wrap stuff, which is this magical suspended animation stuff. And so he doesn't have to die, but he's not with us, and we'll figure out what to do with him. Well, the fact of putting him into suspended animation gave us the opportunity, issues later, for a wonderful, moving resolution to his story. But at the time, when he got clobbered, I said, oh, no, he can't die. You can't let him die. And that's how that particular bit of business evolved.
One thing that I did not like to see Cutter in the armor. I mean, the armor was cool, but to me, Cutter was more, he was more of, pardon my language, he was a badass. He was more of a barbarian. I mean, he was a wolf rider, come from the forest. When he put on the armor, I was like, oh, he's going to be too slow. Get him out of the armor. But it did work, but I had to tell you that.
Armor's good.
Yes, armor is good. What do you think of Wonder Woman?
Excuse me?
What do you think of our Wonder Woman?
I think she is great. I think the movie was great. I think of all of the DC superhero movies to date, it is the most, I'm going to say, human of all of them. And I suspect very strongly it's because it had not only an incredible woman starring in it, but directing it. And there's just a sensibility there that you don't have in your typical, let's get two superheroes in a room and have them beat the snot out of each other. So the movie was great. You are great. Armor is great.
All right, one final question. Okay, yes.
And the reason that the armor works is Again, Wendy is a designer of costumes. She has just all her life known how to put together something on paper that a character wears that you can build, and it will be functional. So when she designed the armor, she designed it the same way, so that if you built it, they would come. No, if you made a suit of armor like that, it would flex. And it would flex well enough so that the Wolf Riders, who are very nimble, would be able to move nimbly while they were fighting.
See, the reason why I brought that up is when I was reading Elfquest, I was very involved in martial arts. Being a fighter, studying martial arts, and I see the Wolf Riders in the armor, I'm like, oh, it's not going to work. But yes, it did end up working. One other question, personalities for each elf. Where do they come from? Are they modeled after someone you knew? Modeled after? See, you're laughing, so it's got to be something. Where do the personalities come from?
They always say, write about what you know. These characters are aspects of ourselves. And most people, when they're told that, they say, oh, you must be Cutter, meaning me, and Wendy must be Lita, because I'm the guy, Cutter's the guy, and Wendy, And we say, with a secret smile, no, Wendy is Cutter and I am Skywise.
Talking to you earlier and now I can see you as Skywise.
And there's a relationship between Cutter and Skywise that is just as strong and as intimate and as everything else as the one between Cutter and Lita as life mates. Cutter and Skywise, brothers in all but blood. They are essentially recognized without the biological imperative. They know each other's deepest selves. Other characters are aspects of ourselves. There was one point, I'll just give you a tiny example, when Strongbow was captured in Blue Mountain and he was caged and Winnowill was taunting him and torturing him. Yes. I was going through a period in my life where I felt psychologically and spiritually and emotionally trapped. I think it was probably by my job at the time. And so that stress that I was projecting found its way into Strongbow, his anger, his strong desire to break out of there and do damage. And that sort of thing is all through Elfquest. Of course, we can't feed every one of 700 or 800 characters like that, but the major characters are expressions, avatars, if you will, of ways that we have felt, things that we have learned, teachings that we want to try to express, and so on and so forth.
My favorite drawing, my favorite illustration of Cutter, and I told you, was book 4. Cutter is in the all-black jumpsuit with a white wolf fur vest. I love that drawing. Please make that into a t-shirt or a print, because I would rock it all the time, and that print will be up in the Geek Lair. It's only a little panel, too, from what I read. Favorite of all time, so please pass that on. It was...
As I said, Wendy is a costume designer. She likes drawing good-looking bodies, and she likes clothing them, and you need to have them, like, there before you can put the clothes on them, so it's a lot of fun to draw, it's a lot of fun to design, and we've had some incredible people who have taken her costumes and realized them for cosplay. The acme of Elfquest cosplay was 1981 in San Diego. Now, 1981 was during the original Quest. I'm not sure what sparked this, but at the 1981 San Diego COMICON, there were 2 groups of Elfquest cosplayer. One group of 30 and one group of 60. Wow. There were nearly 100 elves running in cosplay all the time. Before cosplay was a word, they were doing it, and they were all over the hotel, to the point where we were getting comments from professionals and people walking and say, if I see one more damn elf, I'm going to just...
That must have made you feel good, though.
We have photos. San Diego has a Saturday night costume competition, and the workmanship and effort and time and skill and love that goes into the making of these costumes is outstanding. Well, there was the group category, so the announcer is up there saying, all right, now we have group 1, 60 kids in costume. All right, group 2, and 30 more come out, and the place just exploded. And we've got photos, and we've got movies, and the whole thing.
That must be amazing.
We haven't topped that. Maybe someday when the movie opens at the Man's Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, we'll recreate that.
One final question. What do you prefer, CGI, animated, or live action?
Oh, that's a tough one. For a long time, because Wendy's art is just so gorgeous, we thought, let's have it be animated in the best, beautiful, two-dimensional Disney style.
Please.
That's difficult to do. We have seen beautiful CGI. We've seen beautiful mix of CGI and live action. We trust that when the time comes, if the time comes, that whoever we're working with will have enough smarts, and certainly more smarts than we do, to know what's the very best way to translate Wendy's artwork to a screen, whether it's a big screen or a small one, and preserve the absolute beauty and integrity of Elfquest.
For one, I told you again off camera, I saw Fire and Ice at the time that I discovered, and that's how I want it to be. Please, do it right, Hollywood. Louis for the Angry Geeks, what Jamie Dolan, that Wonder Woman, and the one and only Richard Pini. Sir, it's an honor. I told you, I bow to you. Thank you. You made my childhood with that book. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation, found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.